Hello, everyone. We'll start at 11 o'clock in 2 minutes. Welcome, everyone, to the official kickoff of Safety and Health Week. My name is Anne Tenier, and I'm President and CEO for the Canadian Centre for Occupational Health and Safety, or as you may know as CCOHS. Now, before we get started, I wanted to let everyone know that today's event is available in both English and French. To access the English and French language channels, please select the globe icon or More at the bottom of your screen for the interpretation option, and it's at the bottom of your Zoom window. We've put instructions in the chat. And while we meet today on a virtual platform, I'd like to acknowledge the importance of the land in which we call home, and acknowledge the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples of all the lands that we are on today. CCOHS is on the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabeg to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase 1792 between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. And we're so pleased to be joined again this year by our national partners, represented by Eugene Gutierrez, Executive Director of Threads of Life, and Dave Turner, President of Health and Safety Professionals Canada, as well as our special guest, Alex Tuff, who is a family speaker from Threads of Life. Thank you for joining us today. It's wonderful to see participants from across Canada coming together for this important week. Each year, this event gives us an opportunity to reflect on our shared commitment to building safer, healthier environments at work, at home, and in our communities. Health and safety is more than a set of rules or procedures. It's a culture, one where everyone is respected, supported, and protected. It means recognizing that everyone has a fundamental right to a safe workplace, one free from physical harm, harassment, violence, bullying, and the kinds of negative behaviors that can erode our mental health and well-being. As we begin this week, let's remember that safety is an ongoing journey. It requires our continuous attention, our willingness to stay vigilant, and our dedication to doing what's right. It means being proactive, identifying hazards, assessing risks, and taking meaningful steps to prevent harm. It also means creating environments that support both mental health and physical well-being. Because a healthy workplace is a productive workplace, and healthy communities are the foundation of a thriving society. This week, let's recommit to making health and safety a true priority. Let's have honest conversations, share what's working, and learn from one another. Let's acknowledge the progress we've made and face the challenges ahead with determination and optimism. By working together, we can build a culture of safety that lasts long after this week concludes. Let's continue to inspire each other, stay alert, and always look out for those around us. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your dedication to advancing health and safety. I hope this week brings meaningful learning, new insights, and positive change. It's now my pleasure to turn things over to Dave Turner, President of Health and Safety Professionals Canada, to share a few words.
Thank you, Anne. Sorry about that. I was trying to get my audio sorted out. So, good morning, everybody, and good afternoon to those in Atlantic Canada. I love Safety and Health Week. I look forward every year to this kick-off every May. Health and Safety Professionals Canada is pleased and honoured to partner with CCOHS and Threads of Life in delivering this Startup to Safety and Health Week. Thinking and talking about safety and health is important at all times throughout the year, but we set this week aside so that we can all come together nationally to think about how we can work together to ensure everyone gets home safely. There are still too many injuries and unfortunately deaths occurring in the workplaces, and it's incumbent upon us to take every step we can to reduce these horrible outcomes. Employers and senior management often think that safety is about compliance with rules and regulations. And yet, while this is important, since every rule and regulation was written because of someone becoming badly injured or even killed, we must not think of it as only that. Safety is much more than compliance with rules and regulations. It's about people, their working conditions, their attitudes, their physical and mental states, and of course, the environment that they are working in. Every day we hear of workers with anxiety and stress who are being overwhelmed and overworked, and it leaves a heavy weight on their mental capacities. As individuals, we should be constantly watching for any signs of stress within our colleagues. After all, we are our brothers and sisters' keepers. Interventions are key to ensuring safe work situations, whether people are performing jobs incorrectly or appearing disconnected from what they're doing. Interventions are not easy. The first couple of times you do them, especially if you fear that somebody's going to reject you. But if you have lots of practice, they become easier and they become second nature. You don't have to be rude. Simple question is enough. Can you tell me why you're doing it that way? Would this way have been safer? Or have you thought about doing it this way instead? Not everybody you talk to will welcome the help. Some may tell you to go away, or words to that effect. And out of 100 interventions, you may get 1 or 2 rejections. Most people will listen to you. But if with 1 or 2 rejections, at least that means we made 98 tasks safer in the workplace. Another major development that impacts health and safety is the growing effects of artificial intelligence. AI can help when developing policies and procedures, but remember, AI does not replace the personal interactions and empathy that we need to ensure workplaces are safe. A little bit about Health and Safety Professionals Canada. We held our annual professional conference in St. John's, Newfoundland last September. It was a great success where health and safety people from across Canada came to network and learn more about safety and new techniques, etc. This year we'll be in Regina in October. We're also translating most of our documents and our website into French so that we can include francophones in Quebec, New Brunswick, and the rest of Canada. We hold networking and educational sessions in communities across Canada and internationally. That was a little bit about us. Now, Safety and Health Week is a time when companies and employees get to set up special classes or special events to promote and encourage awareness and participation, so that we can create workplaces and communities where everyone, and I mean everyone, can feel safe. Health and Safety Professionals Canada has lunchtime online speaker sessions every day this week, and it's open to members of the association and also to members of the public. So each day is set up in a different region: BC, Alberta, Atlantic Canada. I believe today is the Atlantic provinces, and then we move across the regions and the rest of the country for the rest of the week. Anybody can join in. So if you check our website at healthsafetypros.ca for times and subjects, and then you can join in. I encourage everyone listening as well. So get involved in this week's activities, and wherever possible, get involved in your local communities throughout the year. Volunteers are needed everywhere to ensure that health and safety in the workplace is the norm and not the exception. Please don't forget, Wednesday this week is the Health and Safety Professionals Day. So give out a shout and a thanks to those that work continuously for our safety at work. I'll leave you with this final thought. First and foremost, safety is about people, their well-being, their livelihood, and of course, their life. Talking to them about their job helps them get through the days safely. Though important, compliance to rules and regulations is always secondary. Thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of your Health and Safety Week.
Thank you, Dave. Really appreciate you sharing your perspective with us and getting Safety and Health Week off to a great start. We appreciate the expertise and efforts of all the health and safety professionals across the country who make workplaces safer. Our next guest is Eugene Gutierrez, the Executive Director of Threads of Life, a fantastic organization that offers much needed support to families who have experienced a workplace tragedy, and also a national partner in Safety and Health Week. Welcome, Eugene.
Great. Thank you for the warm welcome, Anne. Good morning, everyone. And good afternoon to our friends out east. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our friends at CCOHS, to Anne and the entire team. Thank you, not just for this invitation and having Threads of Life be part of this virtual kickoff, but for building the kind of space where this conversation is possible. I'd also like to take the opportunity to say thank you to Dave and our friends at HSPC. Dave, thank you for your words and your message. They are very resonant and important for us to remember. I'd like to start with something simple, something that should be obvious, something that unfortunately still needs to be said. Every worker deserves to come home. Something that should be obvious, something that unfortunately still needs to be said. Every single day, no exceptions. That's not a policy position. That's not a regulatory standard. That is a moral commitment. It has to be the foundation of everything we do. Look around at Canada right now. We are building housing, infrastructure, green energy, projects accelerating at a scale we haven't seen in years. And that is something to celebrate. But here is the truth we cannot afford to ignore. Speed is not a safety plan. A deadline is not a reason, and a budget is not a justification. Because when safety falls by the wayside, it's never an abstraction that pays the price. It is a person. It's a name. It's a family rearranged around a loss they never saw coming. True safety culture in 2026 isn't compliance. It's courage. The courage to slow down when the risks ramp up. It's the courage to say, we are not doing this until we do this right. For those of us at Threads of Life, Safety and Health Week is not just a moment on the calendar, it is sacred. It's a time of real grief, and also of something just as powerful, enduring love. It's the love of a child for a parent who didn't come home. The love of a spouse still carrying the weight of an absence they never chose. These are not statistics. These are people. And their stories are the reason any of us are here. They are why we cannot let safety become secondary, not in a boom, not under pressure, not ever. Now, safety is not just about the physical environment. It's not just about the hard hat or the harness. It's about the person inside the hard hat. It's the whole worker. CCOHS has been leading the charge on psychological health this year. And they're right. Because what good is a safe structure if the workers building it are exhausted, overwhelmed, and afraid to speak up? Think about the junior worker who sees something that doesn't look right, but stays quiet. Because they don't want to be the one who slows things down. That silence is not a personal failing. That silence is a system failing. We need workplaces where people feel seen, where people feel heard, where a worker at any level can raise a concern and know it will be taken seriously. We cannot call a workplace safe until every person in it feels safe enough to tell the truth. So when you look at those new project maps, those ambitious timelines, look for the people between the lines. Are we creating environments where speaking up is welcomed and not punished? Are we watching out for each other because we genuinely care? Or just because it's required? As many of my colleagues have said, including myself, safety is not a checklist. In fact, safety should and is the ultimate act of care. It's how we look at the person beside us and say, hey, your life matters. You matter. So let's build a Canada where safety is never an afterthought, but the bedrock, the first question we ask and the last thing we compromise. Let's honor the memories of those we have lost by protecting those who are still with us. And let's carry this week forward, not as a calendar obligation, but as a promise to the workers, to the families, to each other. On behalf of everyone at Threads of Life, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you to the safety professionals, the advocates, and the leaders who refuse to cut corners. And thank you to our friends at CCOHS for holding the space for stories that remind us why this work is sacred. Let's all have a safe, meaningful, and purposeful Safety and Health Week. At this time, I'd like to introduce you to Alex Tuff, a Threads of Life volunteer and a member of our Speakers Bureau. Alex Tuff lives in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. He works as an occupational health and safety advisor with Workplace NL, overseeing construction, manufacturing, and agriculture. His passion for this career runs deep, and he is forever committed to the prevention of workplace fatalities, illness, and disease. He will be sharing his personal story, a story that puts a human face to the consequences of workplace tragedy and reminds us all of our shared mission of prevention so that no family or worker has to experience what Alex and his family have faced. Please welcome Alex.
Thank you, Eugene. Just going to share my screen here. Given the option to share the screen down below. Just 1 second, folks. The share screen button doesn't seem to be there. Okay, well, I'll get started. I can bring in the presentation as we go. Maybe it's just the button is a bit.
Sure. Alex, the
Green.
click
Sorry.
on more. And then
More?
you should, yeah,
Oh
down.
yeah.
And
Okay.
then there it is. Its share should be up there.
Yeah, I got. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so we should be able to see that there now, uploading. Maybe someone on this side want to give me a thumbs up to make sure we're good.
Yeah, we can see that, Alex.
Okay, perfect. So good afternoon or good morning to everybody, depending on where you're to in Canada. My name is Alex Tuff, and I'm a presenter with Threads of Life, and I currently work as a health and safety advisor in prevention services at Workplace NL. On Saturday, August 3rd, 2013, just after 9 o'clock in the morning, I was freshly showered and ready to get ready for my shift at Walmart when I received a voicemail from my dad's wife telling me that I could not go to work that day. As a young man, hearing you don't have to go to work usually requires no explanation. Still, something felt off. I returned the call, and without hesitation, she said, "Alex, your father and I are coming to get you." There was a noticeable uneasiness in her voice, one that had told me that this was not information meant to be shared over the phone. Almost immediately, my mind went to the worst case scenario, though not the one that would soon become reality. I assumed one of my grandparents had passed away. It would have been sad, devastating even, but it felt like a loss you'd expect to face at one point in life. I stepped outside and paced back and forth, waiting. My father drove this old car, and you could hear it long before it came into view. Suddenly appeared at the end of the road, moving faster than usual, so fast I wonder how they were going to stop. My father got out, wrapped his arms around me, and spoke words that permanently altered my life. Chris was not coming home, and there had been an accident at work. He had been killed. In that instant, my brother, my best friend, and my mentor was gone. What followed was complete shock. It felt as though something had been ripped violently from my chest, leaving nothing but pain behind. My thoughts immediately turned to my mom. I asked my dad how she handled the news, only to be told that she didn't know yet. Suddenly, I was no longer just grieving. I was an 18-year-old tasked with telling his mother that her son had died in an industrial accident. I'm not a religious person, but I dropped to my knees, covered my face, and asked God what I did to deserve this. My mother was at work, so we rushed to her office, speeding down a busy 5-lane road with hazard lights flashing and little regard for traffic law. Somehow we arrived safely. Anyone who has had to deliver news like this understands. No course, no seminar, no Google search can prepare you. I walk in and saw my mother sitting at her desk, and I remember thinking, I'm about to change her life forever. She smiled, confused to see me there on a Saturday. When I tried to speak, nothing came out. My head nodded uncontrollably as shock robbed me of language. You know, if you search what to say to a parent who's lost a child, you'll get billions of results, and none of them are helpful. Without hesitation, she stood up, went outside, where my father told her the truth. We all collapsed together in grief, struggling to breathe under the weight of what just happened. Even now, when I close my eyes, I see my mom's fists pounding against my father's chest, gasping for air, middle of a parking lot, repeating, my baby boy is dead, my baby boy is dead, again and again. People nearby noticed. A paramedic came over, concerned for her health. Our quiet, ordinary lives had been shattered, not by chance, but by failures in workplace safety. While each of us experienced the loss differently, the pain was shared. You know, for many, the word Trinity brings to mind a beautiful Newfoundland community. But for me, it's the name of the room at the funeral home where I was given the chance to be with my brother one last time. At Chris's funeral, people told me to be strong for your parents. I nodded, but inside me I felt hollow. I stood there as people passed by with their uncomfortable words and forced hugs, thinking, strong? I could barely stand. I can barely breathe. Strong. My parents' life were changed forever. Their grief was visible, like an open wound exposed to the elements. Even today, I see it when Chris's name is mentioned. Our family had felt like a four-legged table when one leg violently torn away, wobbled and teetered, waking each morning to the same unbearable reality. Chris was 24 when he passed. He was building a career for himself while working for a CBS-based welding company. And this company, they secured a contract in Labrador, about 10, 12 hours away if you were to drive up there. He was sent away for work, unsure it would be his last time he would ever be home. Because of Labrador's geography and the high cost of travel, workers often remain in the area between shifts rather than returning home. During this time, it was common for workers to accept additional jobs. While eating lunch one day, Chris and his supervisor were approached by another company in the area and were asked to complete what was described as a quick job. For those of us familiar with workplace incidents, that phrase alone should raise concern. A quick job often means work that is unplanned, rushed, and not properly assessed before it begins. The task involved entering a diesel tank, which was mounted on a truck used to refuel aircraft. This was not a small container. It was a confined space, meaning it had, in Newfoundland anyway, it had limited entry and exit points that were not designed for a person to work inside, and it could have, or other than for the purposes of working inside, and it could have been dangerous upon entering. The tank had reportedly been steam cleaned the previous day, but no testing was done to confirm whether vapors were still present. Chris, who had not received training in confined space entry, was instructed to climb into the tank using a ladder. Once he entered, the ladder was removed leaving him without a quick means of escape. Before beginning work, Chris asked the supervisor if the plasma cutter, a high heat cutting tool, had been properly grounded. The equipment was not used in accordance with manufacturer's constructions. It was used in a confined space. There was no forced air ventilation to remove vapors. There was no confined space permit. There was no rescue plan in place. There was no atmospheric testing conducted to determine whether the air inside the tank was safe to breathe or work in. Instead, the supervisor relied solely on smell to decide that the space was safe to enter. Inside the tank, there were double-walled baffles, as you see on your screen here. Metal structures designed to control the movement of fuel. These baffles can trap residual fuels and vapors, especially if not thoroughly cleaned. Moments after Chris began cutting into one of those baffles with the plasma cutter, the trapped vapors ignited. An explosion occurred inside the tank almost instantly. The pressure built up so rapidly that the baffles were blown outward, striking Chris and causing fatal head and chest injuries. The force of the explosion also threw both supervisors from the top of the tank, as none of them were wearing fall protection. Because no rescue plan had been developed before work began, emergency response was delayed. Chris remained inside the tank for nearly 6 hours before first responders were able to assess him. A forced cremation was later ordered due to the extent of his injuries, and even if he had survived the initial blast, the injuries he sustained were not survivable. Emergency services were contacted, but most fire departments in Newfoundland and Labrador are volunteer-based and not equipped to perform confined space rescues. Ultimately, firefighters from 9 Wing Goose Bay responded and assisted. This entire sequence could and should have been identified during a proper hazard assessment. The presence of trapped vapors inside internal baffles is a known risk in this type of equipment. And without proper cleaning, testing, planning, and training, those vapors became a deadly hazard. Before the job even began, serious safety failures were already present. The 2 local workers who had cleaned the fuel tank the day before, they reported strong smell of diesel fumes, but they chose not to wear respiratory protection and did not report the hazard. Also did not wear any PPE, did not have any fall protection on. All of these things were normalized. Profit took priority over people. Days later, we sat in the funeral home when 2 men entered and said, "Chris has arrived." We finally saw what remained, a plywood box shipped by air, labeled fragile. 24 years of life reduced to a container. This box was also smaller than Chris was and had little pieces of polyethylene sticking out from the cracks to absorb fluid. Perhaps this was a bit of foreshadowing, as weeks later, a package arrived from the RCMP detachment in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Inside the package was Chris's watch, charred, blood-stained, in an evidence bag, and sitting in about 3 inches of blood, exactly as it was removed from his body, addressed to my mother. Hazard assessments matter. A worker died. If one was completed, it failed. Training and planning are critical, but training does not automatically equal competency. Just as a newly licensed driver is legally qualified, but not experienced, workers require oversight and verification. In this case, financial incentive outweighed safety and a cost to life. Chris's employer was fined $55,000 and the other organization received a $45,000 fine. It costs more to fill up the gas truck with diesel than it was the fine to kill someone in it. Supervisors were fined in order to complete safety training, and to this day, I've never received confirmation that training was complete. This is where I want to pause and introduce something I like to call the catastrophe cake. Cake is in, yep, chocolate, catastrophe chocolate cake. Okay. In safety, disasters rarely happen because of one single decision. They are baked slowly, quietly, over time. Every ignored hazard, every shortcut, we'll deal with that later. Every unreported close call becomes an ingredient. Eventually, while they may not seem catastrophic, layer by layer, they build towards something unavoidable. Eventually, the oven timer goes off, ding, and your cake's done. And you know what the hardest part of it all is? Management usually knows that these things are happening. They see the near misses, they hear the concerns, but when the issues aren't addressed promptly or at all, those ingredients remain in the mix. This type of willful inaction creates a deeply flawed safety culture, one that prioritizes production and profit over people. And even more sadly, that culture is not isolated to one company or even one province. It is spread across workplaces throughout Canada and beyond. In Chris's case, the risks were present long before he entered that tank. The cake was already in the oven. William Shakespeare once said, "Everyone can master a grief, but he who has it." For many people, waking up in the morning is something to look forward to. But for me, it can feel like a physical task, sometimes accompanied by the quiet wish that I had not waken up at all. Grief is a natural response to loss. It's the pain that surfaces when someone or something deeply meaningful is suddenly gone. The deeper the connection, the heavier the grief. What I find striking, though, is after a loss, people respond with, "I'm fine," when they're asked how they're doing. But what they rarely share are the realities beneath the surface: the depression, the anxiety, the thoughts of suicide, the sleepless nights filled with tears, and the constant stress that lingers. There's also this sensation that this cannot possibly be real, or that the phone might ring, or someone might wake you from what feels like an never-ending nightmare. One of the most misleading phrases that we hear is that time heals all wounds. Time does not heal. It teaches you how to survive alongside the pain. You know, it begs the question, if time heals all wounds, then when will I be fine? When will I be okay? When will I start to feel like myself? While time may dull the sharpest edges, no moment, there's just no moment when it suddenly feels okay again. Even justice or accountability does not erase the loss. Grief can feel like a life sentence without parole. You wake up each day hoping to find even the smallest spark that moves you forward. At this stage in my life, everything feels incomplete without Chris. He had these striking blue eyes that paired with his loud laugh that filled every room. He shared my childhood with me. He was meant to walk beside me longer than anyone else ever could. I found myself breaking down when my son hugs my brother's nearly 40-year-old teddy bear. Knowing one day I'll have to explain why it matters so much. I have a 3-year-old now, and his middle name is Christopher, and I'm starting to explain. So the other day, I showed him my tattoo, and I have my brother's name on it. He goes, "ABCs, that's my name." And I said, "Yeah, buddy, it's my Uncle Chris. He passed away." He said, "Oh, he's passed away." I'm starting to have those conversations. And he said, "So you can't share your candy with him anymore?" And I said, "No, bud, I can't share my candy with him." So living through life's moments without him The losses, the celebrations, the uncomfortable family gatherings, it does leave a constant absence. I've now reached the age older than Chris when he passed. And for many families, it becomes especially difficult when a loved one has been gone longer than they were alive. You know, it is kind of strange when you think about it. I was 18 when he died, and he was 24. Like, does that make me the older sibling now? I'm not really sure how that works. You know, this milestone, as wanted as it is, reminds us just how fragile life can be. And I often question how similar Chris and I truly were. With 6 years between us, I couldn't barely imagine adulthood. Yet his insight and maturity made me feel far older than his years, made him feel far older than his years. Now I wonder whether our dreams and priorities mirrored each other. Beyond surpassing a sibling's age, many life events can trigger grief again as well. Graduations, first cars, marriages, sweet gig I landed here at workplace now, and children often carry a bittersweet weight after losing a sibling. Typically, older siblings reach these milestones first, and younger siblings are now left with the guilt that they realize that they're experiencing moments their once older sibling never could. But regardless of what I accomplish, my brother remains the missing piece of my life. As I mentioned earlier, I work as a health and safety advisor with Workplace NL. So you can imagine how this incident replays in my mind, questioning whether anything could have been done differently. Would constant reminders of safety have made a difference? As many of us do even this morning when you've told your husband, wife, brother, sister, whatever, to have a good day at work, be safe. Understanding safety legislation is both a gift and a burden. Knowing what should have occurred that day, still, I'm fortunate to work alongside a passionate group of people who share the same goal of eliminating workplace injuries, fatalities, and occupational diseases. Living without my brother is something I navigate every single day. However, one organization has played a vital role in helping my family cope and heal. And without them, I would not be able to share my story here today. Threads of Life is a national charity that supports families affected by workplace fatalities, life-altering injuries, and occupational diseases. Everyone touched by tragedy represents a thread in the quilt of life. Alone, a single thread is fragile, but when woven together, they create strength. And while we are each unique, we are also deeply connected. As difficult it is to say, Eugene might not like me for this, but Threads of Life doesn't want any more members. They hope no new families ever need its support. There's no timeline for when people need to seek help. It happens when you're ready. I am grateful as I am to be here today. We all know it is because of tragedy. With the commitment of everyone in this room, or wherever you are, imagine the impact we can have on workplace safety, prevention, and educating the future generations of workers. Today, I'm here not as a health and safety professional or a speaker for that matter. I'm here as a brother. I'm here in memory of Chris Tuff, my older brother, my mentor, and one of my closest friends, who lost his life in a workplace incident that should have never happened. I share this story not to assign blame, but to give meaning to his loss and to ensure his life and his death serve a greater purpose than tragedy. Everything I speak about today is rooted in his memory and driven by the hope that no other family has a stand where mine once did. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eugene. And Alex, thank you for sharing your story with us. It's a painful but important reminder of the rippling impact of that one catastrophic injury or illness can have on loved ones, friends, community, And it's also a reminder that the role that every single one of us plays, every single one of us who's on this call and beyond plays in being accountable for our fellow workers' safety. Your story motivates us to continue our work with the hope that one day these life-altering tragedies can be prevented. So this takes us to the final and one of the highlights of the program. We find out who takes the prize in the National Youth Video Contest. This year, we had 10 videos submitted from provinces and territories. Each one was insightful and imaginative, with excellent safety messages. Once again, the talent of these young people did not disappoint. If you haven't already, I encourage you to watch the whole playlist of entries on the CCOHS YouTube channel and see for yourself. So we're going to start by showing the third place winning video entitled "The Role of Communication at Work."
Hard hats, safety goggles, steel-toed boots. When we think of workplace safety, we usually think about gear. But the most powerful safety tool you have doesn't come from a toolbox. It's communication. When communication breaks down, safety hazards slip through the cracks. Unreported spills turn into slips. Unclear instructions turn into accidents. As young workers, we might feel intimidated to speak up or ask questions. But silence isn't golden, it's dangerous. Good communication in the workplace isn't just about being friendly. It's about survival, prevention, and respect. It relies on 3 main pillars. Number 1, active listening. This means paying full attention during training. If you're ever unsure how to do a task safely, stop and ask. Guessing is the enemy of safety. Number 2, reporting. If you see something, say something. Whether it's broken equipment, an unsafe practice, or just a wet floor, reporting it immediately protects you and your team. Number 3, the open loop. Safety is a two-way street. Employers need to provide clear expectations, and workers need to provide feedback on how things are actually working on the floor. In Alberta, you have the right to know about hazards in your workplace and the responsibility to participate in keeping it safe. But those rights only work if you use your voice.
And I'm happy to award our $1,000 third prize to Liam Vanderplaat from Central Alberta Christian High School in Alberta, who will receive a matching prize as well. Well done, Liam. And next we'll take a look at our second place winning video entitled Safety Olympics 2026.
This week on the Safety Olympics, 2 tradies fight head-to-head to see who's the safest in the workplace. Let's take a look at our employees.
My name is Kodak, and trades raised me.
My name is Kyle with the C, Kyle the Carpenter, and I've been involved in the trade since I was young.
But which employee knows the most about safety?
Ooh, me. I know to always be aware of my surroundings, never enter the workplace if I'm tired, and to only focus on one thing at a time.
Looks like Kodak is off to a strong start with 3 points to lead off.
I know how important it is to take breaks, wear proper PPE, and always be aware of my surroundings when doing projects.
3 points for Kyle. Looks like we're off to a strong start. Let's get into the real challenge. But first, It's important that the workers know their rights. First, our employees have the right to know about potential risks and safety procedures. Next, they have the right to participate in health and safety committees and address safety concerns. Lastly, our employees have the right to refuse work that's believed to be dangerous to them or others. After going over the worker rights, let's get into today's challenge. Our workers will get 30 minutes to identify proper safety protocols within their respective trades, including PPE compliance, hazard identification, and safe work procedures.
Keeping cables out of walkways.
As you can see here, wearing closed-toe shoes.
One headphone on to stay aware of her surroundings.
We have somebody taking a break with their sleeves rolled up.
Oh, filming on stable ground.
You have somebody with their hair done up, also very important to your safety.
Proper communication between coworkers.
You have somebody wearing their safety glasses, very important.
Strong with the facts, 5 points for the both of you. And the winner, with the most hazards identified, is both. It's a tie.
At the end of the day,
It feels good being safe.
And remember, work safety starts with you. Get more information at WorkSafe Saskatchewan today.
So this video was produced by Luke Lehman and Rylan Hassan from Holy Rosary High School in Saskatchewan. Congratulations, Luke and Rylan, on taking home the $1,500 second prize, and your school will receive a matching prize. And finally, let's look at the first place winning video entitled The Book of Work Safe Wisdom.
Hello children, and today I will be reading you a story from the Book of WorkSafe Wisdom. Once upon a time, a young boy got his very first job. He was thrilled and excited so much his heart throbbed. His task was so simple.
Just switch the old lights.
As the bulb failed to stay consistently bright. The boy, however, was inadequately trained, given little to no guidance from his higher-up Jane. Each step became creakier as the boy neared the top. He repeated in his mind,
I hope I don't drop.
Although the boy tried to tell Jane of the danger, Jane was too busy conversing with a stranger.
This is one of our more reasonable models that we carry at the store. I know it's a very good product.
So the boy didn't speak up to get any help. The only sound he could make was an innocent yelp. The boy wiggled and wobbled at the top of the summit, while sadly the boy could do nothing but plummet. The boy did not perish, yet leg damage was done. And he's rumored to be reading the story to everyone. Don't take this story lightly and make sure to face me. Remember to stand up and speak up for your own safety. The end.
And it gives me great pleasure to announce that the first place winners of the National Youth Video Contest are Journey Benson and Cole Winnie from Oak Rock Ridge Secondary School in British Columbia. Journey and Cole will take home a $2,000 prize, as does their school. So congratulations, Journey and Cole, on this outstanding production. And I think you're with us, so would you like to say a few words?
Thank you so much for this award. Firstly, I would like to just say how grateful I am to be able to compete in a competition like this. The fact that the CCOHS, and more specifically WorkSafe BC for us two, allow young filmmakers to compete in such a fun and impactful competition is so important. For me, this is my 3rd year competing, and I have had such an amazing experience being able to make films that get recognized by a demographic outside of my school. I also wanted to personally thank Miss Reed and Rockridge for keeping the film program here so engaging for students. And I wanted to thank Journey for being such a great collaborator on all our projects together. And now I'm going to pass it over to Journey.
Yeah, so film has become so important to me, especially throughout the last few years. I worked alongside Cole for most of my projects, and it's so cool to see us both get a huge win like this. I'm incredibly proud of both of us. I'm so thankful to Rockridge for giving us so many opportunities and for supporting our dreams and pursuits. I'd like to thank WorkSafe BC for many years of fun competing, and a big thanks to the CCOHS for allowing us to participate in our first national competition as aspiring filmmakers. This is a huge honor for the two of us, and we're beyond grateful to be a part of this experience.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you both. And we wish you well in your future creative endeavors. I have a feeling there will be many. So before we close, I want to acknowledge our panel of very busy judges for their time in evaluating the videos. This year, our judges were Brandon Miwasigi from Inspire, Daly Kofi from UNESCO Canada, Jonathan Paredes, Young Worker Representative for Unifor, and Jan Chappell, Senior Technical Specialist here at CCOHS. And it takes a team to pull events like these together. So I'd like to acknowledge and thank our CCOHS communications team for bringing this event to life and making it all look easy. And thanks to all of you for spending some of your day with us. Safety and Health Week is only 1 week, but our commitment to creating workplaces that are physically and psychologically safe must remain strong every single day, all year long. I encourage you to participate in the activities planned for this week. You can register using the link shared in the chat. And on behalf of our guests from Threads of Life, Health and Safety Professionals Canada, our staff, let's make this week impactful and inspiring. Have a great day.